All right. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the 9th Annual Wild Wisconsin Winter Web Conference. I'm Jamie Machik with the Wisconsin Valley Library Service, and I'm moderating the small and mighty track today. And assisting me is Joy Schwartz of the Winnifox Library System. We're so glad to have you here. Our presenter for this session is a Wisconsin librarian. We have Angie Bodzislaw with us from the Spooner Memorial Library, and she's going to talk about obstacles that we can turn into opportunities. So, Angie, please begin.
Hello, everyone from Spooner, Wisconsin. I put a map up here so you can see exactly where that is, the northwestern part. My library is 5,500 square feet, FTE of 5, and our city population is 2,609. Just to show you kind of the size of us. Small libraries are my favorite libraries. As co-chair of WHISTLE, if you don't know what WHISTLE is, hit me up and I'll tell you more. I'd happily share with you. So today we're going to I'm going to do a presentation about how to turn lemons or obstacles into some lemonade or opportunity. I'm sure you've heard the saying, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Well, today we are going to share how to make lemonade out of 10 obstacles I faced at my small library in hopes that it will encourage you in your role at your library. So each lemon is going to have 3 slides, one with the lemon, one with the obstacles and opportunities, so how to make lemonade, and then the final one, my favorite part, a whole lot of sugars, so the outcome of the lemonade making process. So we're going to move right into probably one of your favorite lemons in the library world, book donations. As you'll see there, that's real live footage of some book donations we received, and that's just a small amount. Our book nook, which is where we sell our used books, it was so full that we couldn't even walk into the room. Mostly due to a very large book donation from our local elementary school. So this is the fun part of making lemonade. So lemon number 1 is one I'm sure you've all experienced. Lots and lots of book donations. We found that it was a little difficult during the pandemic to deal with these book donations. They just kept stacking up more and more and more. And at first, when the elementary school called to offer us their weeded books, I thought, this is a bad time. We don't have the staff to run a book sale, and that is a lot of books. Most of them were children's books, and we didn't have a lot in our book nook. So I reframed it and I said, why not? And the opportunity arose to raise money for care packages during COVID. So with a little creativity, sunshine, and teamwork, we made it happen. So moving forward, this is my favorite part, the whole lot of sugar, the outcome. We raised over $1,000 to purchase more care package supplies for care package distribution in our county. The care packages that you see here are some examples. Inside there was, or still is, we still have care packages, toilet paper, hygiene items, and cleaning supplies. We found out that we didn't need extra staff because we put the sale outside and it was free will donation, so we didn't even have to really handle money. And of course, the weather cooperated perfectly for us because sometimes that actually happens. In the process, we raised $1,000 for care packages, so that's the beautiful whole lot of sugar part of that lemon. So now we're going to move into lemon number 2. If you're a leader in a library, and you have employees on your team, I'm sure they have come to you once or twice or more than twice with ideas. So the lemon number 2 is when your employees come to you with yet another idea and you are already swamped. My team members are full of ideas. I don't know about yours. One day in particular, one of my team members came to me with the idea of a backpack station in our children's section. Over on the right, you'll see a picture of my cat. Do I look like I have time for another idea? I bet you feel like that sometimes in your library. So let's talk about making lemonade out of this situation. My initial reaction was, I don't have time for another idea. We don't have money for that. But changing my mindset to why not and encouraging my team member to take the lead allowed for a great opportunity. In this picture, that is Jill. She's the team member who, from the ground up, had this idea and made it happen. She disassembled our current kits that we had, which had like books and activities in them, and she curated a 3-step backpack station out of them. She added superhero capes, games, Beanie Boos, you know, the Thai Beanie Babies with the big eyes, and easy readers. And we have since added puzzles, puppets, and lacing toys. So say why not and watch your team shine. So here is a picture of our current backpack station. So this lemonade sure was sweet. It increased our circulation, and our backpack station continues to get a lot of use. The process empowered my team, which is one of the sweetest things to see as a leader. If you're curious, the backpack station involves a backpack. The children pick a backpack. They then pick a stuffed animal or Beanie Boo, and then they pick a toy, like the superhero cape or a game, and put it in the backpack, and then they pick 3 or 4 easy reader books, and each of those items is barcoded, allowing us to get more circulation and allowing them to make their backpack up however they want. So that's our backpack station. Let's move on to a little bit more difficult lemon, repetitive feedback. So on the right here, you'll see my daughter Adriana doing a science experiment. That is some dirty water. This could get messy. I was giving the same hard feedback year after year at my team members' annual review. If you feel overwhelmed, please go into the stacks and take a break, because patrons see when you're frustrated and may feel like it's an inconvenience to help them. This lemon took years for me to look at differently. As a leader, giving feedback is important, but not really very fun. So let's talk about how I made this lemon into some lemonade. So this one was a little more dirty. Over on the right, you'll see a picture of my daughter's filtration device that she made with some rocks and sand and dirt and stuff. So let's make some lemonade out of this. The biggest thing coming between this lemon and some deliciously sweet lemonade was myself. Hard to admit, but it was me. For the longest time, I considered this my team member's problem. It's her problem that she's getting frustrated by all the interruptions. The reality of a small library is that it's all hands on deck. Your work gets interrupted, and that's just how it is. Well, I started to notice the pattern and considered the why. And this opened my eyes to consider that this is an opportunity to change the workflow of the library and in the end impact our patrons. So basically I got over myself and I realized this is something that I can change. So here is a whole lot of sugar part of this. It's called uninterrupted time. I'll explain the image in a second, but on the left, you'll see my daughter Adriana again, holding a clear bottle, which is the bottle of filtered purified water, which is what the uninterrupted time schedule is like to me. So making this lemonade was very time consuming and considered a lot of logistics, but the outcome has been fantastic. My team has had a better attitude with patron interruptions and better time management. Patrons feel more welcome. This is definitely worthwhile for anyone who has more than one team member working at any given time. How the uninterrupted time schedule works is during the uninterrupted designated time. For example, on Monday at 8 a.m., it's Joanne, and 9 o'clock, it's Joanne as well. During that uninterrupted time, she's not expected to do anything aside from her regular duty. She is in charge of delivery, so she will do delivery things and she won't be interrupted. As a cataloger, that is extremely important. So at 1 o'clock, you see Shar has some uninterrupted time that's just cataloging. If you're on desk duty, it means that your main priority is helping the patrons, whether by answering the phone or being at the front desk. If you're on second, that means you're backup for the first person. And what this led up to was those team members who were uninterrupted were able to get their work done without frustration. And they knew when their desk duty or interrupted time came, and they were ready for it, offering the best customer service they could. So let's move forward to lemon number 4, cleaning house. So like number 4, or like number 1, lemon number 4 involves patron donations. A board member passed away and her son wanted to donate her entire puzzle collection to the library. At that time, we didn't have a puzzle collection and we knew nothing about having one. In fact, I didn't even really know how many puzzles she had, other than there was a lot. So how did I make lemonade out of this? I could have said no, but here's why I didn't. So our building is small, yes. I didn't know the logistics of how to deal with missing pieces. I understand. But it was easy enough to go on Google, ask other librarians, how do you handle your puzzle pieces? So what we did was we shipped some books, we made space, because this was an opportunity from the library. Not only did it memorialize a beloved board member, but it also allowed us to start a really nice puzzle collection at no cost. And since then, we really haven't had to spend any money on the collection other than time cataloging them. So here is what our puzzle collection looked like shortly after we started it. It's gotten even bigger now. On the right of the big picture, you'll see there is an image of a bunch of picture books. And that's a special puzzle that Marion had in her collection that we had some of her prior students put together to memorialize her. And we continue to grow our puzzle, again, at no cost. We get donations all the time. And during the pandemic, we had puzzles go out like nobody's business. Our shelves were almost empty. Many we keep when people donate, but others we sell in our book donation room. And we did find it's really simple. If there's a piece missing, we have a little label on the front where it asks patrons to circle where a piece is missing. When there's 2 circles, we delete the puzzle. It actually doesn't happen that often. We now have yearly puzzle contests as well, including a virtual one recently. On the right, you'll see an image of a family that did our virtual puzzle contest. With the puzzle contest, if you're interested, people will get the same exact puzzle. I believe this one was 500 pieces. They were in paper bags, so people couldn't sneak peek. Everybody opened them at the same time on Zoom, and then they did the puzzle. First person to finish got a prize, or first team to finish. So this is our 5th lemon coming up, and this is after this lemon, we'll take a little bit break for questions. So if you have questions, feel free to put them in now. So lemon number 5 is patron ideas. So lemon number 5 involves an obstacle many small library people understand. Space is limited. So a patron came to me with an idea. If I let her, she would teach group ukulele classes in the library. Notice this is our program space, if you want to call it that. It's housed between our DVDs and our audiobooks. It's the space we have, and guess what? We make the most of it. So let's see how we made lemonade in this situation. I was confronted with the reality of our space issues, which I'm sure you all feel, and a lot of times it's easy just to say no because we don't have the space. That's an easy excuse. If we had ukulele lessons in the library, patrons would have to walk through the program and the library would be pretty loud. But there was a huge opportunity here. This community member had a talent that she was willing to share for free. She had ukuleles for any participant that didn't own one. This was an opportunity to not only empower the community member, but also the community. There's Nan pictured there. She's teaching a younger age group here. She came dressed up a lot of times, also brought cookies. So what was the whole lot of sugar part? Well, the lemonade was as sweet as the community member who made it happen. Nan successfully held 2 6-week sessions of ukulele. Several students of all ages joined, and many played at our 2019 fundraiser, including a handful who were brave enough to play solos. Nan encouraged many community members to pick up an instrument for the first time. Money and access was no longer a barrier. And we had people say that, I can't afford music lessons. It's so nice that this is free. And to answer the second part of the obstacles, our library has never been considered quiet anyways. It made people realize that. We'll just put it that way. So we're about halfway through. We are halfway through. So now is the time for questions if you have any.
Okay, Angie, we have quite a few that came in, so we'll get right to them. How do you, going back to the backpacks, how do you clean the backpacks? And did you do quarantining or special sanitizing or anything different with COVID?
With the backpacks during COVID, they're returned in our drop box, just like everything else. And they sit for 4 days, just like everything else, before they're checked in. Regarding sanitizing and cleaning the backpacks go through the washing machine. And how we put the barcode on it so that it was washable was we put it onto a card that was laminated and put it into a luggage tag. When we wash them, we pull the tag out, leave the luggage tag on, and then they just dry, and it works really well. I think those, I don't know if I think they're called Skip Bop backpacks or something. They sell them at Barnes & Noble and on Amazon, but they're really durable.
Great. So did they return the stuff in the backpacks other than the books? And is there a barcode on them?
Yes, every item has its own barcode, and every item gets checked in and checked out.
Okay. And then where did you get the funding for the stations? Did you have a grant, a budget, or a donation?
So with the backpack station, we used the kits that we currently had that weren't getting a lot of checkouts. We disassembled them, and that's how we got probably about half of our backpacks. The Easy Reader board books, or the Easy Reader books, what we did was we purchased bulk books on Amazon, just the paper easy reader books on Amazon. You can buy like packs of like 6 books that they aren't that expensive. And because it's the backpack station and the low cost, they're easy to replace. So that's how we afforded the books. The Beanie Boos we got a really good deal on, and the games and such, I believe we had a donation at that time. And then every year when we add to it, if we add to it or replace anything, we either use donation money or we use money that's used for children's books because it's a children's item.
Thank you. On the staff in uninterrupted time. So first of all, I want to mention that we did download a PDF schedule of that in your handouts area on the control panel. If you can't access it, it will be on the post-conference resource page, I promise. Probably not until the end of today, but it will be there. Going on, I wanted to ask about the uninterrupted time. What was the feedback from staff after that started? Was there any, were people nervous about that, about having uninterrupted time? Was it a positive thing? What was the feedback?
Yeah, so what I forgot to say was before I came here, something like that was tried. So one of the reasons why it took so long for me to even try something like that was because I was told by staff who had been here a while, we tried that, it didn't work. And I was finally like, something's got to give. Maybe we can do it differently. So we did it, and it's been so positive. There's been a lot of positive feedback from the team, positive feedback from the community too, because people aren't thinking that they're an inconvenience, because it's changed attitudes. And since then, that one team member who had that brought up year after year at their review, it didn't need to be brought up anymore because we found a solution for it. So it's been extremely positive. I printed out for everybody. It takes a little while for the team people for them to remember where they're at. Sometimes it takes a little adjusting. For example, when you have delivery and it comes a certain time of day, you might have to adjust it that way. But it's worked really, really well.
So so let's say you have your desk person, if that desk person needs backup, they can get somebody else if they need help with that time.
Yeah, so, yep, so we have a desk duty person and then a second person. The desk duty person is the first to help patrons or answer phones, and the second duty person is keeping an eye out for if that first duty person needs help. And prior to this, I don't know if it's like this at other small libraries, but what was happening was everyone just looked at each other when a patron came up and like, okay, who's going to go get them? It didn't work very well.
Right. Or I'm doing something that I have to get done, so can you go help this person? But I like the idea of a second person so the second person can work on their things, but then if that first person needs help, then that's the priority, right, to go help the patron, because the patron has to be the first priority. Yep. Cool. I have a few questions on the puzzles before you go on. Okay. So when the puzzles were donated, did you put all of them together and work them out to make sure you have the pieces? And then when they are returned, do you do the same thing to make sure you're not missing pieces?
No, nobody has time for that. No, we didn't. So the puzzles that we get from donations and the puzzles that we got from my board member were ones that had been put together once and then put into a bag and were taken care of. And we look at that when we open them up. And if it looks like they're taken care of, then we put them out there. And then it'll come, if a patron's putting it together and they realize there's pieces missing, they'll circle it. So we look for circles when they come back.
Oh, okay.
And that's worked well for us. We hardly ever get a circle. But it's because of the quality of donations we're receiving.
Right. Okay. And then do you have a washing machine at your library, or does the staff take the backpacks home? going back to the backpacks.
I don't have room for a washing machine here, but I bring them home and wash them at home.
Okay. All right. Do you have friends or volunteers to set up the book sale, and where does the money get placed?
We do not have friends or volunteers to set it up. We just set it up in the morning. So that was really setting up and taking down was the only work we really had to do. And we purchased, because of COVID, a blue, or it's like a metal money box that locks, and we attached it by our copy machine. So patrons, whenever they would purchase a book or something, they would put the money directly in there, and then we didn't have to do anything with it right away. And we didn't give out change either. We haven't given out change during the pandemic.
Okay. I have to ask, so you mentioned with the ukulele that you had them at your fundraiser. Can I ask how much money you raised at your fundraiser? And do you think the ukulele players had had an impact on that?
Yeah, we raised, I think, about 3,000. And what was, I think the ukulele players did, because all of their families came to watch them play.
Yes.
So then they bought stuff and put, did their raffle and stuff. So I think it did impact it.
Yeah, and I have to admit, I teared up a little bit when you said how people told you they couldn't play instrument, or they never had played an instrument before, and this gave them the opportunity, and how money wasn't a barrier. So do you mind answering really quick, do you have any idea how much ukuleles cost, and did everyone buy one to participate? How did that work?
Yeah, so ukuleles you can get for pretty cheap. I think you can get them for like $14 to like $40. Nan, this is like her passion. She bought bulk ukuleles. She just has these ukuleles. So she provided all of them. But it could definitely be something that a supporter of yours might invest in for you for the library, because they aren't super expensive.
Okay. And then someone suggested I would, maybe invest closer to 40 for a nice one, and that you maybe borrow ukuleles from your school too. Great idea. All right,
yes.
That is all the questions we have for now. So why don't you continue? Thank you for answering those.
All right, perfect. Yeah, thank you, everybody. We're going to move on to lemon number 6, enter not. So lemon number 6 was one of the most frustrating lemons for me. Many of you may remember the summer of 2019, or was it every summer? I don't know. When several fiber optic cuts meant that we were without internet a lot, which was very problematic for my team and for our patrons. We realized that we really did rely on the internet a little too much. So how did we make lemonade out of this not so fun lemon? So making lemonade with this lemon is really about making the most out of an obstacle that we had little control over. And that happens sometimes. We don't have control over everything. With the internet down, we had no access to our catalog, to our email, and almost everything that we need to have access to. The tricky part was that we didn't know if it was gonna go down or when it was coming up a lot of times. So the opportunity really came when I decided enough is enough. There has to be a solution. Librarians are good at that. And I thought, well, at least there could be a Band-Aid that would make this a little less painful. So this lemonade may not be super sweet, but we found a solution, a hotspot. We pay $32 a month for our Verizon hotspot data plan. We have also added wireless cards to our staff computers. So should the internet be down, we can connect our computers to the hotspot. The hotspot has served us well for outdoor programs and outreach. We had this hotspot before the pandemic. We used it when we had our summer sidewalk event. We have used it quite a bit, not just for when our internet goes down. So lemon number 7, I bet you all don't really want to talk about the time in March when we had to shut everything down. Well, lemon number 7 is still pretty raw for a lot of us because it deals with the pandemic. In March 2020, we closed our doors to the public. The library sat empty. Out of this very sour lemon came one of the greatest opportunities of 2020 for my library. Making lemonade meant working from home, trying to see how we can serve the community with an empty building. The opportunity was the empty library itself. Together with a group of other community agencies, we joined forces to help the community. Community First Washburn County was formed. The opportunity was an empty library and a community in need. So this lemonade continues to be sweet. A handful of organizations that serve the community came together. Along with them, several community volunteers stepped up. The empty library became a packaging and storage center for care packages, such as toilet paper, hygiene items, and cleaning supplies. To date, we have distributed 907 care packages in Washburn County. The library still houses the majority of the packages, which we are now offering through curbside pickup across the county. Care package distribution led to supplemental meal delivery, partnering with local restaurants who were struggling during the pandemic, to partnerships with the ADRC and distributing over 6,000 food boxes to community members in need in the Farmers to Families Food Box Program. As we proceed with incorporating Community First, the library continues to play a vital role, and the community collaborations and commitment because of Community First has been incredible. And how it started was, our building is empty. We can't go to the library to do normal library stuff, but we can go to the library to do COVID response. And that's why we became the packaging center. So lemon number 8. You might have to be creative with this one because you probably don't have the same exact problem, but kind of one like it probably. So lemon number 8 was an inherited lemon. Our library was the last to digitize in our system, and one of the biggest barriers to doing so was our short barcodes. We integrated in 2007. I came on board in 2015, and we still had short barcodes. So the obstacle here was that, well, it's the principle of it, right? Have you ever thought that? Oh, the principle of it. I'm not going to change them all. We were told we didn't have to change them all when we joined the consortium. And then time. It takes a lot of time and money. Barcodes cost money and it costs time. So the previous director did not want to change the barcodes because of the principle behind it. And I didn't want to tackle it because it was an inherited lemon. I don't have time, I don't have money, but the reality of the situation was that it needed to happen. After we had our inventory, we realized that books weren't being marked correctly because of their short barcodes. So we thought, why not? This is a chance, a rare occasion to handle all of our older books. So we're almost done. We're still in the process. It has been a long process, but we're still in the process of making our lemonade, but we're almost done. Updating our short barcodes, though a daunting task, allowed us to look at the condition of all of our older books, update spines and call numbers, and evaluate the records. When books came back with short barcodes, we knew that they had not been looked at yet. Longer barcodes mean that our next inventory, which is going to be in May, is going to be more accurate than 5 years ago. And also, to help with the cost, we reached out to our system who got us some barcodes, because that was the most expensive part of it aside from staff time. Lemon number 9. If you're in a small library, you get this. Everything keeps breaking. This is actual footage of me fixing the library toilet. Have you been there? Maybe in the comments, let us know what is a weird part of your job that people don't understand. So lemon number 9 is a lemon that I'm sure you all know and appreciate. From a broken toilet to burnt out ballast to an expensive furnace replacement, it's not easy when everything keeps breaking. But even with that dirty lemon, we can make some lemonade. The obvious lemon in this case is money. You need money for these things. When things break, it costs money to replace them. Money requires us asking for it, which isn't the most fun thing ever to do. But one day I decided I was done bandaging our water wasting toilet, and I was done with our energy wasting lights needing constant ballast changes. I was done with paying for $500 parts on a 20-year-old furnace. Have you been there? Well, guess what? This is an opportunity to be more efficient, an opportunity to strengthen your city or your municipality relationships. The pictures that you see here are sweet lemonade that came from everything breaking. When our ballast kept burning out, we reached out to the city for help. We qualified for the focus on energy incentives and upgraded to LED lights. We paid a portion of the lights and the city paid the rest and installed them for free. We were able to upgrade our furnace last year when it was costing $500 for parts to fix in the same way with the help of the city and good relationships. And in the process, we have more efficient lighting, more efficient furnace, a more efficient toilet, which saves us money. I'm reading some of the comments. Shoveling and salting the sidewalk. Been there, done that. Yes. Going to electric stapler and electric hole punch saved us a lot of breakage. People don't force too many pages. Oh, I see what you're talking about. Oh, library on fire. Let's put the fire out. Yep, a ballast blew in the office. Yep. Yeah, extra duties as assigned. Yes. Very good. One part of my job that maybe I should have shown you a picture of is I have to monitor a crack. And when I turn in the crack report to the city, they laugh every time. It's not a funny thing, but you just got to make the most of it. So we're on to lemon number 10. Lemon number 10 is the last lemon I'm going to talk about today. So lemon number 10 is mental health crises at work. Life is hard, and a pandemic definitely makes it harder. With the pandemic, this definitely heightened mental health crises. And with the pandemic specifically here came really hard moments mentally for many of my team members, specifically one. Here's an image of a craft that I made out of random products I found at home. So I'm sure you guys, if you teach story time or work with kids or even adults, you teach them that there's no bad emotions, just some emotions are easier than others. But 2020 was hard on my team. It was a lot, still is. A mental health crisis made me realize the importance of working towards defeating the stigma of mental illness at work. This was an opportunity to make lemonade and make our library safer and more supportive of team members with mental illness. So the opportunity here deals with not only the stigma, but adding mental health check-ins at work. One lemon of the pandemic is the increased stress it has caused on my team and myself. Don't forget about yourself, guys. But I have chosen to make lemonade, and the sweet side of this really hard time is that our team is stronger and we are more socially aware. To support my team, I have incorporated mental health check-ins for those that want to. I have adjusted lunch schedules and allowed team members to go home if they are not having a good day. We have become a workplace that is safer and more open about mental health. I have also been more open about my own mental health and been more aware of the need to practice self-care, like visiting the North Shore alone, which that's what these pictures are from. So over the past, 40 minutes, I have shared 10 lemons, also known as obstacles, that I experienced while leading my small library. My biggest hope for you all is that you will allow yourselves time to pause before you say no, before you throw in the towel. Consider the what ifs and the why nots before you say no. There is always time to pause before you decide something. Even though it feels like life's going so crazy, you can't pause, you can pause. When your team member comes to you with an idea, even when you're busy, take a moment to consider what is there to lose if they take the lead on this. That's where I practice self-care. If somebody has an idea, it doesn't mean that you have to do it. Delegate and trust your team. If it seems like your library building is falling apart, and maybe it literally is, take a moment to breathe. Turn your negativity into action. Work on relationships. Be creative. Remember that it's all about attitude. So this picture here is one of those community first opportunities we got from the closed library. We are distributing food boxes at the highway department in Washburn County. There's Katie in the back holding the slow sign and me in the front with the bright colored hair. I wanted to thank you guys for attending today, and I wish you all well and encourage you to reach out to me with questions and lemons. I wanted to also remind you that I'm the co-chair of the Wisconsin Small Library section of WLA Whistle and would love to get you connected with the session. Now we have a time for more questions, Jamie.
Okay, excellent. So if you do have a question for Angie, we did save some time for that. I figured we might have a lot of them. So we made sure to include some time for that. So we'll get right to it. Angie, remind us again, what is the size of your staff?
The size of my staff, we have 12, but we're only 5 FTE. We have some staff that are only here like on average 2 hours a week. So,
okay.
You know, really minimal.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go back to the ukuleles. For the ukuleles, could participants in the class take them home during the 6-week duration of the class?
Yes, they all took them home and they all brought them back. Even the ones that dropped out, there were a couple that dropped out.
And I would assume that, was it during COVID? Was there, how do you sanitize a ukulele? Is there a proper way to do that? Did Nan help with that or suggest how to do that?
Yeah, so the ukuleles didn't need sanitize. I mean they did at first, but then they brought them home, and then afterwards, Nan probably wiped them down or something. I don't know.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Another question. I'm a director of a very small library, and I'm the one with the crisis. So how do you lead and take care of staff when you are the one needing care?
Yeah, I appreciate the person who said that, because I feel you. I definitely do. So I can give you tips on what I have done. I started counseling back up again. I asked my board if I can work from home some days of the week. I have other crises at home, so I started going to Al-Anon, which is for people who have family members or friends who are addicted. And that has helped me realize that I don't have control over pretty much anything, you know, and learning to let it go. One thing that has helped a ton, and I bet that librarian is on here right now, but reach out to other library people, not at your library, and talk it through. And give yourself the same grace that you give your team. And lastly, use the mantra, progress, not perfection. I had to remind myself that yesterday when I was filling out the annual report and seeing all the numbers going down. It's so depressing because it feels like you're working so much more harder to do what feels like less because of the numbers. But remember, progress, not perfection, but take care of yourself.
That's great. How would you recommend introducing the discussion of mental health with your staff? How do you bring it up? What setting do you use to bring it up? Is this a formal meeting? Is this something daily? And how do you start that conversation?
Yeah, so I started the conversation initially at a staff meeting, and I offered to provide mental health check-ins for people when they come into work if they wanted to. And some team members have done that, where they've come in and done mental health check-ins. The crisis that I was referring to earlier dealt with a team member who was really in crisis. It was beyond what I could do, but I could make my library a safer place for that team member. And that team member, specifically, we have a safety plan in place that we made with that team member's family, and we abide by that. And then the library staff who also work with this person also know the safety plan, and we make sure we know what triggers are. And that's one thing that I didn't understand until this crisis, was that you can make your break room, you can make other parts of your library safer for people that have certain triggers. And I'm talking about a trigger of something that someone might use for self-harm or something like that. So kind of looking at it through a different perspective. And then one of the hugest things that you can do is share how you are doing, not just I'm fine, but really share how you're doing. And if you're not there yet, it's okay. There's not like a perfect way to do it. But I find it's really hard to label your feelings, right? But it's so important to be able to do that. So practice it on yourself. Practice labeling your feelings so that when you're ready to talk to your team about doing it, that they're ready to. And then another thing that I did, like I mentioned earlier, was you pay attention to your team. Pay attention to if they seem down. Pay attention to if they're not behaving like they normally do. Be aware of that, and then bring them aside and talk to them. And what came out of that was, I have one team member who had a lot happen this year, even more than the pandemic, and she goes home on her lunch breaks. I have another one that I've sent home early. You got to look at, I say it a million times to my team, that mental illness, you got to look at it like a physical illness. If they're throwing up, you don't make them stay at work.
Right.
And you encourage them to go home. So that's the kind of support that I've done here, and it's helped a lot. It's helped me too. So for the person who asked, how do you, when you're in crisis, practicing those same steps helps a lot.
Thank you. So there are a lot of libraries listening and who are small, probably smaller than yours. This person writes, we have 1.5 FTE. I love that I can share ideas. And then another person says, but how do you reach out for help when you're so small, when you, when you are one of the smallest, in the area or your library system? How do you do that?
Yeah. How do you reach out for help? Is that regarding
Yeah,
the
I think
programs or the mental health stuff?
I think just everything. How do you reach out when you're so small?
Yeah. So your system more than likely has meetings, and they, like right now, ours is online. Attend those meetings. And if you're tiny, see if your system has the ability to attend virtually. Also, attend meetups. So we have a lot of we've been having some Whistle Pub Lib sessions. Attend those, and that's how you get to know people. Also, a lot of my connections have come from joining like the Whistle Leadership Board, and then attending conferences. And I know that seems like that's not possible in a small library, but it is. You just have to advocate for it more, for sure. But yeah, I feel you with a small library. It's hard, but it's not impossible. There's a lot of friendly faces that you can't see right now on this right now that would be wonderful to reach out to.
Yeah, thank you. So you talked a little bit about mental health check-ins. What does that look like?
Yeah, so what it looks like is when an employee wants to do a mental health check-in, or if it's part of their safety plan, we sit down together and we say, if you could label what you're feeling right now, what would you say? And the person will say then what they're feeling, and it's always more than I'm fine or I'm good. We go deeper than that. Then after that, we talk about what could help here today. Like, what could we do today that will help you right now? So with one of them, a trigger when one of my team members is having a hard day is to not go into the stacks. So that's part of our safety plan. And then we always end with them asking me to label how I'm feeling. And I do that. And if the person is familiar with doing any breathing exercises and they're really struggling, then we do those, like the box breathing. And then lastly, there have been instances where we say, I think that today might be a good day to go home. And the important part of that is making sure your team knows that your team person knows that they're not letting me down. They're not letting anyone down. They're not doing anything wrong. It's just, especially if you have a safety plan in place, that sometimes you're not able to be here. And sometimes it's healthier and better for that person not to be here.
Yeah, yeah. Can you describe what you're doing in the third person to distance yourself a bit?
To distance myself when we're doing a check-in?
Yeah.
Are you talking about when we're? Yeah.
Right. When you're
I
doing,
remind myself.
yeah, when you, right.
Yeah, I remind myself that I do not have control over somebody's situation. I'm here to support them, and I also remind myself I'm not a professional, so I'm not going to try to do any professional things, but I'm just going to try to be there for the person in the moment as much as I can. And I really take into consideration when they ask me, how are you doing, Angie? And I use that as an opportunity to really answer how I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So a question came in. Is it considered sick time then if someone has to go home?
Yeah, they have the opportunity to use it as sick time, yes.
Okay.
And we haven't had any issues with that, and I don't think there should be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I have to ask, so the theme of this webinar was obstacles into opportunities. And you said at the end that, you know, when you get this question from a staff member or this, this possible opportunity, a lot of times we want to say no, but pause before you at least think about it. So I'm guessing there are times where you have had to say no. Are there things that
Yeah.
how do you decide then what to say yes to, or yes, we can do this opportunity, and or I have to say no to this one? I'm guessing you don't like flip a coin or something. Do you have a
No.
do you have a checklist? Do you have a mental?
Yeah.
What do you how do you
Yeah.
decide?
So it's actually not too difficult. We have our mission states three things: opportunity, community, literacy. So when I look at things, I look, is this an opportunity? Is this going to serve the community? Is this dealing with literacy? And so I look at that. Obviously, you have to look at money, but you shouldn't let that be your no without kind of problem solving, which librarians are really good at. And then also the things that regarding the things I've said no to, recently I've been learning I can't do everything, right? So I've been dropping off of like committees and boards and such that don't fill those opportunity, community, literacy, and that don't bring me joy, because my time is valuable. My time at the library is valuable, and what the library takes on is valuable. And
Thank you.
remember too also that when you take a pause, do the same thing. Take a pause to decide no or to decide yes, and it's okay to say yes and it's okay to say no. Just depends on the situation. But if you take the time to really pause, and sometimes it means taking the weekend to think about it before you answer someone, then that would help a lot.
Excellent. We are out of time. So I want to thank all of you for your questions and your comments and your sharing. Angie, I want to thank you for your great presentation. And yes, this presentation, the recording, these slides will be on our post-conference webpage. All of the sessions will be on that page by Friday at the latest. We're hoping to get most of them up each day, but by Friday at the latest. So thank you again. Our final session in the small and mighty track is Grant Writing 101, and that will be coming up in 30 minutes at 2:30. So I hope to see some of you there. If not, have a great rest of your day. So long.